Let's go and cover the MCT ones. So, can you guys on video call, can you hear us? Okay, so wherever we specify playing conditions, if there is a contradiction with ICC or MCC, anything, MCT playing conditions take over. That's why we wrote those, right? And we already discussed about, we don't want anybody to run into the ground and complain to the umpire and say, hey, I have a problem. It's always either fielding team captain or vice captain or the batsmen at the crease are the only ones who can raise a question. If you ever see players charging in from outside, that you can consider as a deliberate distraction for the game or deliberate delay. You can actually penalize the team who is doing it. So make sure all the requests or questions, clarifications has to happen by the captain on the fielding side or the vice captain or the batsmen at the crease. Do not allow anybody from outside. So even if it is the MCT authority, don't let them unless you are going and engaging to them. Once you are inside the field, you are the boss. Then we already discussed about the late arrival of the players. If you don't show up the game, we can. Sorry.
So would that be like what the game is like where captain of the batting team can?
No, nobody is allowed. Only the batsmen at the crease or the captain and the vice captain of the fielding team. Only those guys can question. As soon as one start coming in, there will be 5 other guys coming in, and the time will be lost like crazy, not doing anything. And we already spoke about the 30-minute. If you're not showing up to your game, be it batting team or fielding team, if you don't show up within 30 minutes, you're not eligible to play that game. If it's a batting team person, it's the responsibility of the batting team captain or at least some of the players. As soon as the late player comes in, just wave the umpire and say, hey, my player is here. That's all we're asking for. Okay, make sure you...
Does the umpire see the player or just...
Well, if the outsiders want to get umpire's attention, they know very well how to get it. I can tell you that much. So, we already spoke about the minimum number of players. We need minimum 7 players for the toss to happen. If there are no 7 players, whichever team has 7 players will get the toss. And by the time of the game starting, if the players don't show up, if we still have 7 players, we have playing conditions already published on how to adjust, how to penalize things. So I believe you already reviewed those. Go ahead. You have a question? Okay.
So you mentioned the winning captain says whether they want to bat or ball right after the toss.
Yes, you have to do that.
So even with that 7-player thing, if only 7 are available for one team, captain right away has to tell.
Yes.
Okay, it has to be right.
It has to, the decision of batting or bowling or whatever you're doing, as soon as the toss has been spun, it has to be notified immediately to the captain, to the umpire and the opposing captain. Don't wait, hey, give me 2 minutes, I'm going to let you know. No. The umpire should insist. That's the other reason why I'm saying is do the toss in the pitch so you don't have these outside distractions. Don't start looking at it and say, hey, we won the toss, what do we do? The expectation is once you're coming into the field, you as a captain should know what you're doing. If you are looking for guidance from somebody else, I think you don't need to be the captain at that point because you don't know what you're doing with your team. Somebody says, hey, this guy is my lucky guy who he always wants the toss, I want to send him. That's fine, you can send somebody, but make sure he knows what he's doing. After winning the toss, don't look at somebody and say, what is my decision? Okay?
And that always happens, right? You finish the toss, you go to your team.
No. That should never happen. That's a bad practice. We are stopping it. You have to tell them right now. Again, sledging, don't say anything. The first time you see anything, it doesn't matter what it is. If you as an umpire felt it offensive, some bowlers have this tendency of bowling the ball and say the F word or G word or whatever. It may not be intended on the batsman, right? It may not be intended on you or the batsman. But as soon as you hear it, just go to the umpire and say, hey, watch language. Just tell the player, watch the language, What happens is, batsman may take it offensive. He doesn't know it was directed at him. In the heat of the moment, if it's a quick, typical game where your bowler is so aggressive, he says F word, batsman hears it and says, hey, did you say it to me? We don't want all that. The first time you hear it, just tell the bowler, say, hey, even though you said it to yourself, watch your language. Just a caution. That's the first time you have to stop it. You skip it, it's going to grow and grow and grow. Okay? Then, we already told you, umpires has to be on time. If you don't show up on time, if you don't toss properly, there is a $10 penalty. And before that, there is a substitute question that was raised. People are asking why can't we have substitutes, all that. So we, as a RCT, decided this. If you have an on-field injury, pay attention. If you have an on-field injury and the NU says this is an on-field injury, right? NU says it's fine. You can have a substitute for, there's no limitation on how many overs you can have a substitute. You can have a substitute for 16, 17, whatever, as long as you are not able to do it. But if you want to take a comfort break, or if you are tired, if you are just, don't have enough breath, you want to go out, you can do so. You can get a substitute, but that substitute is allowed a maximum for 4 overs. Guys, pay attention. When I say 4 overs, it's not for one player. He could be switched between multiple players. He could be switched with multiple players. The maximum time a substitute can stay in the field is 4 overs. He could be switched between 4 different players. That's fine. That means they are getting 1 over each. Or one bowler can go out and come back within 4 hours. That's all. And they have to serve the penalty time, irrespective of the injuries on field or off field. If they are out for that many hours, they have to wait that many hours before bowling. If it's batting, they have to wait that much time, that many hours. Or if 5 wickets fall down, they can come on back. So they all still stay. Hang on now.
There is mention in the rules that unless there is on-field injury, you are not allowed to use.
I think that was probably an old document. Alright. I think that's a old copy.
And is that an ICC rule? I mean, the maximum 4 overs?
No, ICC does not abuse substitutes. If we give substitute for everybody, you guys will bring a good and strong guy who is in 25s and replace your players who are above 35-40, and this guy will be on field for 20 overs. They will keep switching the substitute. There is an abuse of substitute that can happen. Typically what ICC does is, you will get only substitute if you have an on-field injury. Also what they do is, if you want to go change the boots or shoes, you have an 8-minute time frame, you can go and come back with no penalty. That's when they allow the substitute, but they don't penalize it. That's why we see when somebody goes out for shoes or take a tiny break and come back. Their standards are different. We're not going to go there. But if we start giving substitute for everybody for no reason, you will have substitute in 20 overs, fielding and everything.
So a player can fake injury and go, right?
Sorry?
I mean, a player can fake injury and he can...
Well, NU's discussion is the keyword. We are not asking NUs to be a doctor, but pretty much you and I have enough experience in the field to see when the guy is faking or not. I think so. Right? Go ahead.
You did mention that the substitute fielder can substitute up to 4 people 1 over at a time if he wants to. That does not have to be consecutive, right? It could be like the 4th over, 8th over, 10th
sure.
over.
The maximum this guy can be on the field is 4 overs.
Okay.
So let's say he comes in for you 2nd over, goes out 3rd over, he comes back 10th over for a different field, so that's fine.
But what if the 4th player gets injured and there is no limit for the substitute?
On-field injury, no substitute, and use discretion. And you have to say it's an on-field injury, then he can stay on.
Also, he didn't like the 4th street.
So that limit doesn't get counted for injury.
So if somebody gets injured and substitute comes in,
It doesn't count against these 4 overs.
oh,
Only for a comfort break. Okay. The other thing, go ahead.
Okay, how did we come up with 4? Why only 4? Why not 6?
1/5 of 20 overs.
So why 1/5? How did we come up with 1/5?
So how much you want?
Just a compromise.
What do you want to propose?
No, it means when I cannot guarantee that someone else will not get tired or something like that, how can I just keep it solid at 4? That was the first thing. And second thing is like why 4?
So there's no mathematical calculation on why we can do certain things on what numbers. We kind of looked at all the things possible. What is the best way not to give unfair advantage to the other teams? If we started giving more overs, let's just say if I give 6 overs for the bowler, this guy will bowl 4 overs and just go out and sit and come back after 12 overs, and he still can bat. He's being almost fresh now. We don't want to give that kind of a break to any advantage. So we thought 4 is an ideal number. There is no real justification why would you come with 4 or 8. We kind of try to help out the teams. At the same time, we don't want to be saying, oh, you can get only substitute if you are injured. If we do that, we'll have problems too. So we kind of came in between.
And this 4 overs limitation is only for T20 and not for T35.
Yes, T35 will be published. We will change the numbers, but it may not be a bigger change, but it will be changed. All right. The other thing we have seen so far, or we have seen this thing happen is, we are asking you guys to be familiar with the playing conditions. We already published the document. We are doing a seminar. We are asking you to write an exam. The understanding of this is you guys are familiar with the playing conditions. If you are not, always carry something in your phone as a PDF document or in a pocket printout or something like that. But the thing is, we are trying to prevent you guys calling RCT guys when you have it done. Don't just pick the phone and say, yeah, Raj probably knows this playing condition and I may be driving to South Carolina or something and I may be thinking something else and I say, yeah, just give me out. Don't take it. And then you call Abhishek and Abhishek says, not out. We don't know what the scenario is. You guys are the authority there. You guys have seen everything firsthand. Your decision is what we trust. We have seen this happen in many situations where teams call him, teams call me, teams call Hima, get 3 answers, fight in the ground. No, we are preventing it. NU is the ultimate authority. If NU has a question, only if NU has a question and has a confusion, he can call us. Depends upon whoever will answer or may not answer. We may point back again to the rules book. If there is nothing in the rules book with a scenario that happened on the field, there is nothing we will do. We're going to let NU take the decision and we're going to stand by it. And if there is a correction that needs to be made, there is a modification that needs to be made, we will release an urgent addendum to the rules. We'll publish it to all teams if such scenario ever happens. But the idea is do not keep calling. We have like 6 or 7 guys, don't keep calling everybody. It's not that we don't want to answer the phones. We don't want to come into a situation where 6 of us gave different perspectives and you guys are fighting in the field with us having no first-hand knowledge, right? So that's one thing we want to keep you guys away. So be prepared with yourself, take a playbook or keep a PDF in your phones.
So if a batsman gets injured towards the last part of the innings, like 15, 16 over, can you open the innings again?
You mean a batsman or a fielder?
Fielder at that point.
So as long as he's serving the enough penalties, injury or not, he has to still serve the time penalty. So if he's gone at 15th over, he can bat after the 5th over or he can bat after 5 wickets and down, whichever happens first. And there is another situation every time it happens. What happens to the calls on the boundary, right? Again, there was a question asked in the room too. We don't have any video technology. Irrespective of some games may be video covered for whatever the teams want to do. We are not taking any video coverage into evidence. If we do it for one game, we have to do it for every other game and we have to be consistent. We need to have a third umpire and all that stuff which we are not doing. So irrespective of whatever the video coverage footage is, we are going to ignore it. If the NU can make a decision whether it's a boundary series or catch or not, if NU cannot judge it from his position, he's going to ask for the fielder's vote and he's going to take the fielder's vote. Fielder may be not in the sportsman spirit and he may be saying it's out, it's out. End of story. Because there's no way for NU to actually, we can ask the player to stop there and say go run and look at it. We have heard about that, but that's not going to happen either because this guy may take a 6 catch on the boundary and take 1 step in front before you even watch it. You don't know where this position is. Even in TVs where we see, they zoom in on the foot, they touch it or not, there's a lot of things that happen. So we cannot do all that. So if NU cannot make a decision, fielder's vote is your idea. That's it, end of decision.
So NU may ask the fielders to stay. If he wants, he can ask the fielders to stay. Again, it's NU's authority and he can decide based on whatever fielders condition. But NU decision and he can ask the fielder and once he can take fielders call.
So the other question about substitute, can wicket keep as well? If the wicket keeper is injured and the substitute wants to come and wicket keep, he can. But it's still a 4-over limit. So the 4-over limit applies for substitute or wicket keepers too. Just keep that in mind. But
Injury,
again, NU's discretion. If NU thinks the injury is genuine, yes, he can continue.
I thought substitute cannot wicket.
That was changed. That was changed.
There's a change to do.
Yes.
Even in ICC.
Okay. Go to the next.
जाएंगे
So we already spoke about that. There is one other thing that people were questioning about how many fielders can be on the leg side. I guess you guys know. Maximum 5. Anything more? Bowler is not a fielder. If he's coming around the wicket, don't consider bowler as a fielder. I heard that story too. That's invalid. Bowler is a bowler. Okay. And one thing we actually kind of included this year is collision between the batsman and the bowler and the batsman. So imagine a situation, and we have seen this happen to Sachin, Ganguly and everybody, where you are running, bowler bowled and then you are running, there is a collision, you fall down and then you get run out. ICC allows it because they can look at the video footage again and see if it's a genuine obstruction or not. We don't have all that, right? So as long as MU feels that if that collision was not happened, the batsman would have made the field. Again, it's MU's discretion. Or if it's intentional, it's all MU's discretion. You call and signal dead ball, as if nothing happened, return the batsman to the ends, just ball. So there's no change in the result. Okay? So make sure guys, whenever these collision things happen, which could happen, we don't want argument because ICC can give you out. But here we don't have the video technology again.
So then you have to hold that over again.
Call a signal dead ball and then just re-ball the ball, put the batsman back.
Just to be clear, it's between batsman and bowler and not two batsmen.
It could be fielders too, because let's say
not two batsmen.
Not the batsman, no. Batsman and the fielding team. Okay, and then go ahead.
If a batsman obstructs a run out, what happens?
We'll come to obstruction part. I will go there. So again, there is always a question about white balls. Okay, especially when the players start to walk. Okay, so I have seen this firsthand too again. So we have seen batsmen trying to help umpires. Okay, if he sees the ball and he thinks it's going wide, I have seen several batsmen walk and do like this. Hey, it's wide. Sorry, no. You are bringing yourself into play by coming closer to the ball. The wide can be judged when you are in a normal stance, which is your typical normal stance. You don't need to help umpires. Umpires have a wide line, they know where the wide is. But people have this tendency, just they walk and do like this and say, hey, is it not wide? Sorry, no. You are already too close to play the ball. So think about that. And again, when people do a switch hit, this is one confusion part for wide balls too. People are in a stance, then they try to switch hit. So is my leg stump still a leg stump? For this condition, if you switch hit, your leg stump wide is same as your off stump wide. So the distance increases. So the batsman cannot complain that that's my leg stump wide anymore. Okay? Any questions on this? All right, good. So then we're gonna do no balls. So all no balls are free hit except for narrow pitches. Except for narrow pitches. Okay, there are some grounds which have very tiny narrow pitch, and if the ball pitches outside, they're calling it a no ball. But it's of no batsman's fault or no bowler's fault. We don't want to penalize them. So except that one situation, every no ball is a free hit. Waist height, fielding restriction, anything. Okay, followed. So there. Yes. So again, above the height, above the waist heights. If let's say if you're square like a ball, it's a no ball. And if you think it's not a no ball, it's perfect height from your view, you can overrule that. Then there's another question somebody actually just pointed to me is, we have seen this when players start to walk, okay, and then there's a bounce. How do you call it? For you, it's always his position in the stance. So if consider what happens if the ball is at the crease. Right? If he walks it and he gets bounced and he dips it, he looks at you. There's nothing you could do there. But what happens at your instance? Would it go above the height? Would it go below? Just assume it. If you cannot assume it, because he walked, there's nothing he could do. So that's your perspective. Even when he stands here, the ball going on the shoulder or the head is again your perspective as an umpire. Right? So those are the things that you have to focus when you are standing at a NU on the leg umpire. But most of us, again, coming from batting teams, so think about that. If they are in doubt or if they are giving an incorrect decision, you have the power to overrule.
What if a batsman takes a stance like 2 feet in the wicket? Do we need to consider?
Still increases your normal stance. You don't consider where the batsman's normal stance is. So the normal stance is always on the crease. Okay, so yeah, the one other thing I want to tell you or ask you a question. Go ahead.
Let's suppose there are two neutral umpires. Even then the main umpire can overrule the...
No, two neutral umpires still neutral umpires form. Well,
because everyone will come running to the main umpire to just...
Of course, we are talking specifically when the umpire on the square leg is from batting team.
Do we have feeling for guard no balls?
I thought we already covered this. Is there a guard no ball?
No.
That one only happens. That one only happens when you tell the umpire right arm over, and then without telling the umpire you come right arm round. That's when it happens. You have
So that is a no ball.
that is the no ball.
We have a free.
So let's say you're coming to me. Your first ball you told me you're coming right arm over, and I'm assuming batsman assuming. You just without notice you just came right arm round and bowled it. It's a no ball for FTD.
Is it a free hit? That's what.
Yeah, free hit. Every no ball is a free hit except for narrow pitches. And there is one other question which is typical is, so let's say this no ball is because of a fielding problem. Let's say you have only 3 guys inside the circle than 4. And the umpire noticed you call a no ball. Technically, you cannot change field for free hit if the batsman is still the same, right? What happens here? How long?
So you have allowed only field.
Exactly. So this is the only time that field changes are permitted in free hit other than from the batsman changing. If this no ball is because of a fielding infringement. Okay? Yeah. So you guys already know about these. So these are the no balls. Watch for this screen, guys.
Is the overhead bouncer no ball or a wide?
Look, directly overhead, it's a wide. Yes, so we will come out.
Raj, just to clarify, umpire is a no ball, but bouncer is a wide. So is that your question, like without pitching?
No, bouncer or
Bouncer over the head is a wide.
The first bouncer is
And then you call one for the
second
over.
bouncer is a
No ball.
So above the head, the batsman touches for the first
Yeah.
no.
It's not a wide. We already made a contact, right?
So is there a
So that would be the first
It's not a no
ball.
ball. It's one per over and some.
But he can get out. He can get out, right? He can get out in that. He can get out. He can get out. He can get out in that. Because you are able to reach the ball.
Yes. So guys, pay attention to this.
మన చాలా మంది టచ్ చేస్తూ లోపండి టచ్ చేయకపోతే బయట టచ్ చేస్తే లోపండి మళ్ళీ
So let's me put this question. What take precedence? White ball or no ball?
no ball.
No ball always takes precedence. So irrespective of whatever the scenario is, if there is a situation where the umpire thinks it's a no ball and a white ball, let's say it's a waist high full toss, okay? The main umpire thought it was going too wide and he signaled wide. But from the square leg, it was a no ball and he comes and tells you, yeah, it's clearly over the waist and you notice it too. So you just say nah and call no ball. No ball takes precedence. There are some situations where, okay, let's look at no balls here, guys. Pay attention to this. So if you touch the return crease, it's a no ball. If you bowl outside the return crease, it's a no ball. If your foot is not, it has some part of the foot has to be inside. Always watch it for those no balls. Okay? Do you guys see any fault in the screen on the left hand side? Is there any mistake here?
Yeah.
These are the modes of dismissals. Correct. You cannot get out handling the ball in a wide ball.
Yeah.
Because if you handle the ball, that's not wide enough. So I intentionally put it there to see if anybody is going to catch. Somebody can't hit it. All right, let's go. So there is a question about in the room. There's a question in the room. What is the differentiation between a run out and a stumping by the keeper? Can a keeper do a run out or not?
Yes.
What are the conditions for it?
The batsman tries to take a run.
Right. So as long as the batsman is not making an attempt and if he's outside the crease, that's a stumping situation. And if the batsman misses the ball and tries to run, if there is an attempt to run, keeper can do a run out too. So the clarification is this: as long as there is an attempt to run, that's where the key point is. Is it a stumping or a run out? If it's a no ball, you cannot be stumped out. But if he's trying to take a run, then he can run out. So you have to make the judgment call. And we already have the pitch dimensions, the T20 power plays, T35 power plays. We already published this one out. Okay?
So there's like basically in the no ball scenario, what if the bowler decides to bowl? I mean, like if I'm 2 or 3 steps behind the stumps and the bowler decides to for one particular delivery he releases it way before.
He can release behind you. There is no problem.
Yeah, but
As long as you cannot see as an umpire, there's nothing you could check against.
No, but the sideline is not visible to us.
Yeah,
So we
there's
don't-
nothing you could do.
So that's a fair debt.
Yeah. As long as you couldn't see, something's happening, you couldn't see, there's nothing you could control. So guys, these are some of the penalties that we put it here. So I'm going to go through real quick on this. If the leg umpires are getting over enthusiastic and trying to get themselves involved in the game, shouting, run, four, whatever. If the NU feels that he's getting engaged, he's going to get a first warning. The second time he does it, he's going to get replaced, and the captain will be warned of the batting team. If he does the third time again, there is a penalty run. One penalty will be added. So just remember that. Don't, as long as you're a leg umpire, you still think yourself as an umpire. We are okay if you go and talk to them when you are giving some water bottles in between the overs. That is understandable. But don't guide the teams. Okay? And then bowler blocking the view of the umpire. We have seen this happen many times. Bowlers will start running in front. You cannot see anything happening after once it comes to your view. You don't know if it's an elbow, you don't know if it's a wide, you don't know if it's a catch, nothing. So the same situation we are trying to cover, you're going to warn first time, second time, third time you call no ball with a free. As soon as that happens, the captain is going to kick the bowler and say move. Don't stay on the pitch, move. So let's get to the practice. We have seen this so many times. Then this is one of those things, deliberate delaying tactics, changing the gloves unnecessarily, taking the pads off, especially batsmen. You know, they want to take a break, they drop everything and just walk away and try to do that. And again, you have warnings, first warning, second warning. Third time, 5-run penalty. Nobody's going to take that chance. So you can apply that and be strict on this. You have to be fair for both teams. Illegal fielding. So you have a substitute right now. You go outside. Okay? You are standing on the boundary, you are ready to come back. But you never had got the consent from the umpire to come in. Now the ball is coming your way. This guy is the most critical player in the team. You smartly step in, take a catch. Trying to get an advantage, right? That's illegal fielding. 5-run penalty, plus runs taken. Plus, if the batsmen are trying to cross, that run counts too. So they'll get 8 runs instead of 6 runs. So make sure you remember, every time you go out, when you try to come in, notify the umpire. Ball hitting protective helmets. So I'm going to give you one more scenario here. So we all have this practice, wicketkeeper will put the helmet behind, right? So the batsman bowled the ball, bowler bowled the ball, batsman played a shot, ball went over the head and landed on the helmet, or hit the helmet. What happens next?
5 runs and ball is there. The ball is there.
And the runs cross counts as well. So as long as the batsman crossed, that's enough. It's run counted. Okay? And this applies to the keepers dropping the gloves and running as well. We have seen this. Dhoni gave 5 runs for, I think it was England, where Dhoni left the glove on the floor and he was trying to do a smart thing by catching the ball and deflecting it. He unfortunately deflected and the ball hit the glove. And it's 5 runs. And Charan and I know it happened in one of the games where he and I was doing. Same thing happened. Keeper ran, threw the glove off, ball came and hit the glove, 5-run penalty. It stands. That is considered obstruction too.
But there are bottles in the ground everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know me or not, but whenever I'm there, I would say not to put it on. But they try to put it on these cones. That's kind of okay, considering if you want to go out and drink water, it's already here. But typically, that's an obstruction too. Ball hitting the wicketkeeper gloves, we covered it. Man catching, which is one of the most controversial decisions. We are going to give one warning. If there is one instance, you warn it, and it's not for the captain or the player, it's going to be for the entire team. You did it, and you didn't do it again, somebody else came and did it, he's going to be out if he's man catching. Suspect bowling action.
One question on 1.3. Deliberate delaying tactics. It's for the team, right?
Yes. Any warnings applied is for team. There is no warning for the player. It's a team warning. Suspect bowling action. This is another controversial topic. 15 degrees, bending, whatever, whatnot. We're not going to go all there. Because even at ICC they cannot tell you. So they always take the recording and then they view it and all that stuff. For us, this was put in place to identify some bowlers who are literally throwing. They're coming here and just throwing like this. We have to stop them somehow. So that's where suspect bowling action comes. Batsman can question. There is no appeal there. The batsman can come to the umpire and say, do you think he's suspect? I feel like it.
In the batsman's view, you can't really see whether it's.
Doesn't matter, it's umpire's call. So all the batsman can do is if you feel he's throwing the ball, you can walk away. You can walk away until the last minute. But if you try to play the ball and it hits the stumps, you cannot appeal anymore. You cannot even question that. That's a fair delivery.
Is that second position or main activity?
Well, unless it's another NU, you are not considering his call, obviously. So it's your view. So what I do to catch these guys is I stand really back. So I can see the crease and I can kind of see the arm, but it's going to be really hard. This is just to prevent those guys literally throwing it. Okay?
Regarding 1.7, so what if the fielding side breaks the stumps without first warning?
That's first warning. You have so if they break the stumps, you'll say this is first warning for the batsman and the team. And if ever anybody does it again,
And the bowler needs to finish the action for back hitting?
no. Now they have